Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a topic that's, well, it's everywhere, isn't it? Artificial intelligence. It's transforming industries, especially healthcare and medical devices.
Absolutely. The pace is just incredible. Lots of excitement. But also, for professionals like you listening, folks in quality, regulatory risk, it raises some really big questions. How do we regulate this? How do we keep up?
Exactly, and that's what this deep dive is all about. We've gathered the key sources, the White House's AI plan, the EU AI Act, FDA guidances, to give you a shortcut.
Right. The goal is to help you quickly get your head around this complicated, fast-moving world of AI regulation. We'll unpack the U.S. approach versus the EU's. Think of it as your essential briefing.
So why is this so important for you right now? Well, there's this fascinating tension. You have the U.S. talking about a new golden age of human flourishing thanks to AI. But how do you actually harness that potential safely, ethically? That's the million-dollar question. We want to give you clarity, some actionable insights for your day-to-day work and planning.
Because understanding these differences, U.S. versus EU, it's not just interesting, it's vital. It impacts market access, innovation strategy, compliance, everything you deal with. It's becoming just, well, essential knowledge.
Okay, perfect setup. With that in mind, let's dive into the U.S. first. How are they approaching this? It seems to be about speed, innovation, adaptability.
That's definitely the headline. The America's AI Action Plan from July 2025. It sets out, and they use this phrase, a truly bold vision.
Bold is right. It calls AI a national security imperative and aims for unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance. That's quite a statement.
It really is. And it shapes their whole strategy, which rests on three main pillars. First, accelerate AI innovation. Second, build up American AI infrastructure.
Okay.
And third, lead internationally on AI diplomacy and security. It's a very high-level strategic push.
And a big part of that first pillar, accelerating innovation, seems to be deregulation, getting rid of red tape, fostering a try-first culture, as they put it.
Exactly. Let the private sector lead. They specifically mentioned President Trump rescinding the Biden-era Executive Order 14110 pretty quickly. That order was seen as potentially leading to more heavy-handed regulation.
So less prescription, more encouragement.
That's the idea. They talk about creating regulatory sandboxes or AI centers of excellence, places where researchers, startups, big companies can, test AI tools quickly.
And share results openly, it seems.
Right. And crucially, the plan says this would be enabled by regulatory agencies, such as the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, with support from Commerce. So the FDA is meant to facilitate, not just block.
Okay, that brings us right to medical devices. AI and machine learning are clearly changing the game here. Think AI for reading scans or predicting heart attacks from sensor data. Huge potential.
Huge. And the FDA knows its old playbook wasn't built for this kind of innovative tech. They've said it themselves. The traditional paradigm was not designed for adaptive artificial intelligence.
So how are they adapting? What have we seen?
Well, it's been a progression. It really kicked off with that 2019 discussion paper, the Proposed Regulatory Framework for Modifications to AML-Based SAM-MD. SAM-MD being software as a medical device.
Right. That paper got a lot of attention.
It did. And it led to the AML-SAM-MD Action Plan in January 2021. More concrete steps.
And since then, we've seen a stream of guidances, which are key for you, the listener. Good machine learning practice principles in late 2021.
Then the focus shifted to managing changes in AML software. There was a draft guidance on predetermined change control plans in April 23.
Which became final in December 24.
Exactly. And then just this past January 2025, another draft guidance dropped. This one on lifecycle management and marketing submissions.
So the pattern is clear. The FDA is moving, adapting, putting out guidance, particularly around how these AI systems can learn and evolve after they're on the market.
Definitely. And it's an agency-wide thing. They even put out a notice in March 2024 showing how all the different centers, CVR, CDRI, CDRH, OCP, are coordinating on AI. It's a unified front.
Okay, stepping back to the bigger U.S. picture then. A Congressional Research Service report, the CRS report, seems to confirm this. Outside these big plans, it's mostly about agencies using their existing powers.
And relying on voluntary commitments from industry.
Right. The CRS notes the federal government is generally cautious about broad private sector AI regulation, more focus on government use of AI, and interestingly, a shift towards security concerns lately.
Which makes sense given the national security imperative framing. But this caution at the federal level has a side effect.
Which is?
The states are stepping in. The CRS points to a patchwork of AI laws popping up across different states because there's no single federal law. And critics say that patchwork makes it harder for companies operating nationwide, creates complexity.
Okay, that's a really important point. This U.S. picture focus on innovation, agency-led adaptation, voluntary measures, state-level variations sets up a strong contrast with the EU.
A very strong contrast. The EU AI Act, as the CRS report puts it, is a broad regulatory approach. It's comprehensive and it's built on risk.
Risk-based. Let's unpack that. How does it work?
It's basically a four-tier system.
Yeah.
At the top, you have unacceptable risk. These AI systems are just banned outright.
Banned? Like what?
Things the EU considers fundamentally harmful, like government social scoring, AI that manipulates people's behavior in harmful ways, untargeted scraping of facial images to build databases.
Wow, okay.
Even inferring emotions at work or in schools, unless there's a very specific safety reason. And really strict limits on real-time facial recognition by police. The message is, protect fundamental rights first.
Got it. So, banned unacceptable uses. What's next?
High risk. This is where the bulk of the regulation lies, and it's highly relevant for medical devices.
How so?
Well, an AI system is considered high risk if it's a safety component of a product that already needs a third-party conformity check under existing EU laws that pulls in a lot of medical devices, or if it falls into specific use cases listed in Annex 3 of the Act.
Annex 3. What kind of things are in there that are relevant for, say, healthcare or medtech professionals?
Several key areas. AI used in managing critical infrastructure, think power grids, water supply, things hospitals rely on. Also, AI used for access to essential services, which includes things like evaluating creditworthiness.
Okay.
And, very relevantly, AI used for risk assessments and pricing in health and life insurance.
Right. So if your AI falls into that high-risk category, what does that mean? What do you have to do?
It means significant obligations for the provider, the company making the AI. And this applies even if you're based outside the EU, if your AI is used in the EU.
Okay, crucial point for global companies. What are the requirements?
You need a solid risk management system across the AI's entire lifecycle, not just upfront, but continuously. You need strong data governance, making sure your training and testing data is relevant, representative, as error-free as possible, and complete.
Data governance sounds key, especially with AI bias concerns.
Absolutely critical. You also need detailed technical documentation, clear instructions for use, systems designed for record keeping so you can trace things, and built-in mechanisms for human oversight.
Human oversight, okay.
Plus, achieving high levels of accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity. And underpinning all of this, a comprehensive quality management system.
That sounds significantly more prescriptive than the U.S. approach we discussed.
It is. It's a much more defined, upfront set of requirements for those high-risk applications.
What about other risk levels?
Below high risk, you have limited risk. These systems mainly have transparency obligations. So if you're interacting with a chatbot or seeing a deepfake, you should be made aware it's AI.
Makes sense.
And then minimal risk. This is for things like AI in video games or spam filters. These are largely unregulated by the Act.
Okay. The Act also mentions general purpose AI or GPAI. What's that about?
Right, GPAI models. These are the big foundational models like the ones powering many AI tools today that can be used for lots of different things. They might be integrated into high-risk systems.
So they're like the engine.
Kind of. And if these GPAI models are deemed to pose a systemic risk, and they define that partly based on the immense computing power used to train them, like over 125 floating point operations.
Which is a lot.
An astronomical amount of computing power. For those models, there are additional obligations on the GPAI provider. Things like model evaluations, stress testing against attacks, ensuring cybersecurity. It's about managing risk at the foundational level, too.
Interesting. So the EU is looking at the whole ecosystem. What about timelines? When does all this kick in?
Timelines are critical for planning. The bans on unacceptable AI apply just 6 months after the Act enters force. The rules for GPAI models kick in after 12 months.
Okay.
For high-risk systems, like many medical devices under Annex 3, providers have 24 months to comply. And for those high-risk systems under Annex I product safety laws, it's 36 months.
So depending on your product, you have between roughly 1 and 3 years to get fully compliant. Companies need to be mapping this out now.
Absolutely. You need to know where your AI systems fall in that risk classification and what your compliance deadline is.
Okay, so let's pull this together now. We've seen the U.S. approach accelerate innovation, adapt regulations, rely on agencies, and voluntary action.
Versus the EU's comprehensive, precautionary, risk-based framework designed to protect fundamental rights. Very different philosophies.
And this difference has real-world consequences. The CRS report noted concerns that the EU Act might slow things down, create barriers.
Which is exactly what the U.S. approach aims to avoid. It's innovation speed versus upfront safety guarantees, put simply. But that difference forces global companies into, potentially, very different development and compliance pathways depending on the target market. It's a strategic challenge.
So for you, the professional in the U.S. medical device space, what's the reality today?
You need to be laser-focused on those evolving FDA guidances, especially things like the predetermined change control plans. Understand them, implement them. And if you can, get involved in those regulatory sandboxes. They're a chance to learn and maybe shape future rules.
And if you're aiming for the EU market, or you're a global player,
then EU AI Act compliance is paramount. Those high-risk requirements, data governance, risk management, documentation, they need to be built into your processes from the start. It's a significant undertaking. And remember, that potential U.S. shift toward security concerns could add another later on.
Given this complex, evolving picture, what does this mean for professional development? How should people listening prepare themselves?
Number one, stay informed constantly. Monitor those FDA guidances, understand the EU AI Act details. These aren't static. They will change. Those documents are your essential reading.
Okay, keep learning the role. What else?
Master the basics of AI and machine learning itself. You don't need to be a data scientist, but understand the concepts, model, validation, bias, data quality. The FDA even put out an AI glossary because shared understanding is so important.
Good point. Understand the tech, not just the rules.
Exactly. And think globally. Even if you're U.S. focused now, understand the EU requirements. Your partners, competitors, maybe future markets will operate under those rules. Knowing about data governance, human oversight, robustness requirements is valuable regardless.
And this ties into broader trends too, right? Like upskilling.
It does. The U.S. AI Action Plan itself talks about a worker-first AI agenda, emphasizing AI literacy, skills development, retraining. For you, this means continuous learning in AI-specific quality, regulatory affairs, risk assessment isn't just good practice, it's becoming essential for career growth.
Finally, maybe the most important skill.
Critical thinking. You need to connect the dots between these different approaches, question assumptions, see the bigger picture. Why is the U.S. doing this? Why is the EU doing that? What are the underlying tensions?
It's not just about following checklists.
Not at all. This landscape is dynamic. You need to anticipate, analyze, and adapt. It's about more than just ticking compliance boxes. It's about actively shaping how AI is used safely and effectively in medicine, making smart choices.
So a final thought to leave everyone with. As AI keeps accelerating, this core tension speeding up innovation versus ensuring safety and rights, how will that play out globally? Will these paths converge or stay separate?
And perhaps more importantly for you listening, what proactive steps can you take in your role to navigate that future effectively, whichever way it goes?